One of the most unique features that I've been looking forward to sharing with you guys about the OnePlus Open, and it also actually applies to the obviously the OPPO N3, is the fact that both of these devices support stylus or pen input. I saw this setting in the OnePlus Open since I first got my hands on it, and I finally have the actual pen, the actual device that allows me to control the phone, not only direct on the external display, but the internal display as well, but also over Bluetooth. Today we're going to talk about the OPPO Pen 2. This was initially made for the N2. This was last year's version, but one of the cool things about it, it actually works more in a better way than it worked last year with OPPO's N2 foldable. This year it works on the N3 as well as the OnePlus Open. This is TK. Let's check out all of the features of the brand new pen for our OnePlus Open. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. In front of us we have both the OnePlus Open on the right side and the OPPO N2. Now the OPPO N2 last year supported this pen. This is actually the pen made for this phone. But one of the limitations of this pen is the fact that this pen only worked on the inside or the internal display, and it did not cover any of the functionalities on the external display. And I felt like that was somewhat of a limiting experience. Now, obviously the UI element and a lot of the, I would say the inspiration for the Open as well as the N3 are coming from this version. And I love the fact that it's a little bit taller and of course a little more, obviously way more functional when it comes down to the cameras. But what I found out essentially is that the same pen works now on the N3 as well as the OnePlus Open, allowing us to use it on the external display as well as the internal display, making this way more functional. In the box, we're greeted with the pen. It has a built-in LED light here on the top and of course USB-C on the bottom to be able to charge the dock itself. It will keep your pen charged when it's not connected to the USB-C connector. So we'll go ahead and put that one down. Of course, we have some instruction manuals, just information, again, mostly intended for the Chinese market, as this pen was also intended mostly for the Chinese market. It was not internationally released. I had to import that one. Last but not least, we have the tip remover here with two replacement tips for the pen themselves. These are intended, again, to use on the internal and the external display on the N2. Well, the N2 for the internal display and the N3 and the Open on the internal and external display. The setup process was actually absolutely very, very easy. All you have to do is make sure that your Bluetooth is turned on your device, and as long as you put it close enough to either the N2 or the N3, even the OnePlus Open, the device will recognize it automatically and it'll attempt to pair it as a pen. As you're looking at the little bit of a B-roll that I was able to shoot earlier, I wanted to make sure to capture that first setup just to make sure to get everything kind of configured correctly. Once you have that set up and pretty much sit in there, you connect it, and there's a firmware update that you do need to download, and once you download that, you're pretty much set. The device will recognize exactly how the configuration is set. It is connectable one device at a time, so you're not going to be able to use this on multiple devices at the same time. But to be able to configure it, all you have to do is go under additional settings and then look for the fourth option, at least on the OnePlus Open, that says Stylus. In the Stylus section, the only way to connect it, essentially you have to remove it from the case itself. We'll give it a second. You'll notice that it shows us the pen, it shows us the battery percentage on the pen. You can go in there, model number is OPL 2201, serial number, and of course firmware number that's built in. There was a firmware that automatically showed up, and it shows up at the bottom here. There's a firmware version, and it does tell you version is up to date. Once you have that configured, you're pretty much ready to go. There's a first section here that says press and hold. Now, or basically press the button. If you're switching or if you're using the Notes app or their built-in drawing app, this is going to be one of the functions that you can do. You can switch between it and the eraser, or it and the last tool that you use, or of course show the color palette, and then lastly you can turn it off. I'm hoping more functions will show up in there. Now, we do have the ability of configuring the haptic feedback on the device whenever we're using it. So by default, it's set to be in the medium. You're able to go stronger and of course all the way to the top, or even reduce it if you don't want to even configure it. This just basically turns on the haptic feedback every time you're using it. Double pressing the button takes it directly into a screenshot. That's going to be built in. That's one of the functions that's turned on. The auto lock, if you have auto lock turned on, whenever the pen is connected, it will delay it. If you have this feature turned on, you can turn it off and the device will go to sleep. It means your phone will go to sleep in the normal manner. Take a quick note. Essentially, it's the ability of turning on a function here where you're able to drag down from the top right menu to be able to take a quick note using the pen, and that's the built-in function. Auto update, of course, for the firmware, and of course, a firmware version in here. Now, under the functions here, it takes us through a little bit of an instruction kind of saying, hey, these are the things that you can do. Taking a screenshot is by just double pressing the button here. It automatically takes the screenshot. Keep in mind, it's connected via Bluetooth, so the functions that we have here do not need to be directly connected to the phone. You can use it with the air gestures, and we'll talk about those in there. Not air gestures, but more like air functionalities. Pressing the button, that's the one that they were talking about, switching between the eraser and the selection tool that you're using. Last but not least is controlling the camera in both video and in picture mode, but also the ability of using burst shots in here as well. So a few functionalities that we're getting here that make it really, really unique. And then of course, taking that quick note, pretty much straightforward. You can bring it in and we'll be able to configure it from the top. All the gestures on the top on the display work really good. The tip itself is not a soft material, but it is retractable. So you just keep in mind, you can see it that it does go back. And again, they do provide us 2 replacement tips in case you need to use it there. Now again, as I showed you, it's been working here on the external display, no problem. And of course, when we open up the display, the experience marries over to that level as well. What I like about it is that it actually works on both sides, bringing down the notification panel, open it up. And if I swipe down from the top right here, that's that note function, that setting that we saw in there. I can open it up. So let's go ahead and bring it in. We'll bring it over, open it up. It opens up in pop-up window mode, or you can obviously make it into a big screen. Of course, configure it and use everything that you need to use. That's one of the big nice things about it. And you can configure the different pens. So let's go ahead and select here. I can use a marker. And as we saw in the settings in there, basically if I just press and hold or just press the button, it'll switch between the eraser and the last loose tool. That's the one I actually decided to keep there. So I can go ahead and erase that, bring it over here, and I'm just going to say TK Bay. And you get that experience right there. Very easy and very simple. And you can save those notes and then of course go home. Now I did download PenUp just because I wanted to see if this thing will actually work with other tools or other applications that use pen configuration. And I was actually able to customize or color this one. I'm going to show you guys a quick time lapse of that. I was able to color this one using PenUp and of course using the different Stylus brushes and everything that we've seen there. So it definitely works. It gives us the experience of integrating it with other tools that use pen input. It does recognize it as a pen. But let's jump real quick also into the camera app because I want to share you guys, of course, how does this actually work with the camera and what are the unique features that we get since this is Bluetooth connected directly to our phone. So first thing I'll say is we don't have any gestures, so we can't swipe away between one or the other. But if we are in video or in obviously photo mode, and let's say you were in video and you're using it in tent mode because you want to be able to get that perfect experience. Again, this is a foldable. You're able to set it down. You can basically compose your shot the way you have it. Right now, obviously, we're in video, but let's go ahead and jump into photo. Compose the shot, set it up the way you want it, use the best cameras on the phone, walk away, and go ahead and snap that quick picture because that's the experience that you're setting it up here. And this is one of those things that I'm showing you guys right now. That was the image I was able to take last night as I was setting it up. Super simple, super easy, makes it very functional. And of course, especially for that single content creator, it's even easier because you can jump into video. But what I wanted to show you guys before we jump into that video section, so here, if I just press the button on the camera, bam, it snaps an image. It's a little bit more delayed here because it's actually taking a picture of the table. It's actually technically it's taking a night mode shot. But if I go ahead and just give it a configuration here, give it a little bit more light. If I press and hold the button, so let's go ahead and put this in. You're going to see here that it's actually doing burst mode. So that's one of the other functions in there. Again, if you have that set up, press and hold will take into burst mode. You go in there and then get those shots in case you want to be able to do those type of experiences. In video, pretty much the same experience, just press and holding it once, starts a video, and press and holding it again, stops the video. And you can use it, of course, in either tent mode, in regular mode, whichever configuration you want, and set up the lenses that you want, all the stuff that you want, you set up, you put the phone down in tent mode, and of course, go out there and use the pen to customize it. I don't know how to share with you guys the level of excitement that I have over the fact that this device supports a pen. But not only that, on the internal and the external display. We've seen other foldables in the US market that support pen input on the internal display, but never on the external display. And that's been one of my wants on a foldable device. Of every device that I've ever had an opportunity to actually review, I've never had the opportunity to use it on the internal and the external display. Again, the N2 last year, I knew it supported a pen, but the fact that it only supported on the internal display didn't make it worth it for me to be able to purchase that pen. But once I was able to kind of confirm this while I was at the N3 launch event in Singapore, I actually got very excited and I wanted to be able to try it myself and share that with you guys. The OPPO Pen 2, the one that was intended to be used with the N2 from last year, works absolutely fantastic with the N3 and the, of course, Open, because for the most part, they're running very similar software experience, but at their core, they're very much similar devices. The one thing I will say, this is not a soft tip pen. So basically just be aware, do not go straight digging into the display, specifically the internal one. The external one is obviously a lot more harder. The display there is basically glass, but anytime you're working with a foldable display, you have to be a little bit extra careful. The fact that you can charge it over USB-C and it is actually its own dock makes it very nice. I wish there was some kind of accessory that allows us to carry it with us, but the one thing I will say, it's the length of the OPPO N2, so it's shorter than the N3, and it shouldn't take too much space if you're going to take this with you. What I love about it as well is that I can actually use it to be able to go into, let's say, LumaFusion, have that precise level of editing, moving content around without having to figure out and fidget with my fingers and expand every single time I want to do something. The precise work experience, it works very, very nicely. The entire UI element works really good. It is very nice. The moment you take it out of the case, it automatically connects back to the last phone that it connected to. Again, one phone at a time. And it is absolutely, I feel like, a must-have if you are a true fan of the OnePlus Open or even the OPPO N3. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the OnePlus Open? It is absolutely one of the most exciting devices of 2023 for me, and it just got better with the brand new pen that works on the inside and the outside display on this device. I'll see you in the next video.